From Ohio's haylofts and tool sheds, driveways and blacktops where future legends practice buzzer beaters under dimly lit mercury lights, it's the show that covers all things high school basketball. Here is Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat. And now lacing up their canvas Converse All-Stars to prevent ankle injuries, a guaranteed double-double, OHSAA Hall of Famers, and your hosts, Doug and Dave Kraus.
Well, appreciate everybody's listening to our show today, and we're looking forward to sharing about Northwest Ohio basketball, both the girls and the guys. And Dave, kind of interesting that you and I are going to do this together.
Well, first of all, if our show is half as good as that intro that Thorny put together, this show will be an ultra success. So kudos to Ryan for putting that together. I'm ready to go buy some high tops and get after it right now. But
You mean you don't have yours back from the day?
They don't fit. They don't fit.
Well, they should be in good shape. You never played too hard.
Well, I kind of some days did, some days didn't. But nonetheless, that's another story for another day. But without question, this inaugural show, we're excited to be part of this, and I'm glad you ventured out and asked me to tag along in this tag team, and we've got a great topic to talk about. I mean, we can take this thing a lot of different ways, but our first two shows we'll get into previewing our girls teams tonight, and our next show we'll do the same with the boys as a preseason thing, and then from there, who knows where it'll take us.
OHSAA has changed from the 4-division format for basketball to 7 divisions this season. Joining us to explain those changes and what teams and fans can expect as part of the added divisions, we have OHSAA Board of Directors Superintendent Dr. Jason Selgo. Thanks for being with us today.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, Jay, appreciate you coming, and we really want to dive into the reasoning behind the 7 divisions, how this all came about. Can you go ahead and let us fill us in on that, if you could?
Sure. I'll give you kind of the background and a little bit of the process that we went through as the board of directors. So it actually goes back several years, probably 2013, 2014. When I was principal at Ottawa-Glandorf High School, I was on a committee at that time. It was called the 4-division committee, and that was not run by the board of directors, but there was at least one or two current board of directors at that time on that committee. And the initial discussion, that would be under the Dan Ross era as the executive director of the OHSAA, was just to pursue an idea as to looking at the disparity of size between some of the smallest schools and some of the largest schools. And I think what kind of started that process was right around that time also was the expansion in football, where they went to 7 divisions. And so anytime you have expansion like that, then other sports are like, well, what about us? And so that kind of started that discussion. It's kind of been ongoing. It'd come up and then it'd get cold for a little bit. It'd come back. And when Doug Ute was hired as executive director in, I think, 2020-ish, one of the things that he said, he charged our board when I went on my first year was, we're going to dig into this, and we're either going to do something or we're going to put it to bed for good. And so that was kind of led us into the process that started. It'd be not this past summer, but the summer before. We were at a conference, and he said we're gonna take a bite off of this and see what we can do, and see where it goes from there.
Where did the first 2 divisions, the 1 and 2 now, the 64 number? Each one of them has just 64 teams in it. Where did that come from? I guess that kind of surprised me a little bit. That, for example, a team that in those two divisions are already starting their tournament are at the district level.
Yes, and I'll speak from a couple different perspectives. And I did not like the 64 number. I think it initially came up because it was you think of a clean tournament, NCAA tournament, 64 teams. But the other thing that was happening at the same time was we were looking at the process of allowing teams to jump division. So if you want to elect to go to Division I, but we said it can never be less than 64. The problem we created was if you had 64 teams pre-assigned to Division II, and 2 of those teams jumped to Division I, now you have 66 and 62, and we said you can't have less than 64. So I think what we would have been in hindsight, that was one of the challenges we worked through. But in hindsight, we could have went something with more of a a ratio or a percentage that would have had us slightly above. Because even when you understand the differences between the district athletic boards, and I think we've talked about in the Division I in Northwest Ohio, where you end up with 3 teams and 2 will play in the district semis, and then they'll play one more game and go to regionals. It's not structured like an NCAA tournament, which looks clean. So we end up with some districts with 3 teams that have a regional qualifier. And so there was certainly some things that as we went through this process, we were trying to predict what would happen, and maybe some things we overlooked. But I'll go back to it. This was approximately a 10-year conversation, and where it came about. And like I said, I did not agree with every part of it. I ultimately voted in favor of it because I felt like we were making progress. But we went into it. The result that we voted for and implemented and handed back to the staff at the OHSAA to try to figure out some of the other logistics of the tournament was we wanted to do something that was better than what it currently was.
Well, let's jump into what as the logistics of the state tournament. We do know the dates and even the classes, who plays what on what day, the 3 games on Friday in Dayton and the 4 games on Saturday. So I like that because there's no Sunday. I think everybody's happy with that situation. So going backwards now, playing that semifinals, 14 semifinal games that will be played the week prior. Why don't you give us some background on that, please?
So that was kind of one of the last changes that I recall as we went down to, and this was not part of our board discussion. We kind of passed the 7 divisions, and then it went back to the staff at OHSAA to figure out the logistics. And we were at a meeting probably last April or something. I think it was with the presidents of all the Coaches Association as we were discussing the changes. And it was actually the Coaches Association that brought up the consideration of, do you want the state tournament to continue in the current structure, or do we want to consider putting it back, the semifinals, state semifinals, back 1 week and allow that? And, having not been a basketball coach, I'm thinking about what would be best. My concern would be, having too much time off between a state semifinal game and a final game. The pro would be that you'd have more time to scout, and you can play on a Friday and come back on a Saturday and play in the state championship, and you have no time to prepare. So that's obviously the pro, and the guys that do the basketball in the state of Ohio, they worked with the coaches and kind of built that format. One of the challenges is that now with the change of weeks, we run into the MAC tournament. And so some of our sites that we had in the back of our mind, and I'll just talk about sites real quick, that has caused a little bit of an issue. But our goal was to try to, even though we changed weeks, to try to duplicate the experience for girls and for boys. And so the OHSAA staff was tasked with working with the different associations to come up with different options. There's some really nice high school sites down there. They just use some for volleyball that are nice. They have the capacity to hold the crowd size, and sometimes you have a very the right venue. Even if it's smaller or a little different, it can create an excellent atmosphere. And so, I've been at games down there for boys and girls where Dayton or the Schottenstein Center are virtually empty, and that's not a great atmosphere. You go back to Anderson Arena days I was there as a observer watching Coach Krause and some of the teams play there, and that's an incredible atmosphere because they're close to the court there. And so I think you have a little give and take, but we wanted to try to duplicate that experience and have some of the best venues available throughout the state. So Bowling Green, Toledo, the fairgrounds in Southwest, I think Athens, Ohio University, and some of those. But we ran into some logistical issues with games and practices and teams that might be in tournaments. But that moving that back a week was the biggest change, and basketball was unique in that realm, that they were the only ones that kind of changed the end of the year structure.
It kind of dovetails to the evaluation process, moving forward, maybe a potential, after you review this year, would they even give a consideration to maybe using 2 sites in Dayton and do the same weekend like we've all been used to? Us old guys, we liked going down for the state tournament and seeing, the whole gambit of games, semifinals, finals, and I think it's still possible if you got creative and think out of the box a little bit to maybe bring everybody back to a 2-site setup.
Yep, I think that's certainly on the radar now. Full transparency is this is my final year on the board of directors, so I go back to the district board after this. So that will be another board's role to take over. But I got my fifth grade son in here. And we've been down the state basketball tournament the last couple of years, and we've loved going to every one of those games. He doesn't let me go home until we've seen every game. So we've seen session 12 the last couple of years, and it's a great experience. So I think that's certainly something that a lot of people appreciate. And if there's a way to duplicate that, I certainly think that's a consideration for future years, in my opinion.
Well, that sounds great, Jay. And again, I know it's a huge decision that came up, the 7 divisions. Like we said, we're old timers. We kind of like the old way, but, we understand the disparity issue and all that. And this certainly is going to take a look at that. We're just looking forward to see how this all plays out. We certainly appreciate you stopping in today and sharing your information with us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you all. I appreciate the opportunity to share, and I'm available anytime.
Thanks, Jay.
And now let's recognize our sponsors for Hoop Chat this hour. D&G Welding of Archbold. Call 445-5751 and ask about our mobile service. Rely on D&G Welding for all your welding needs. Innovatech Solutions of Archbold, your trusted technology partner. Call 445-8088 to learn more about their many services or visit them online at innovatechsolutions.net. That's Innovatech with a K, solutions.net. S&W Mills of Archbold, proud supporters of the Archbold Blue Streaks and all our area athletes and students. Call S&W Mills of Archbold for all of your animal bedding needs at 419-445-5203. And finally, at BSN Sports, our job is making sports easier for coaches and players. From top-notch fan gear to personalized uniforms, we've got everything your team needs to succeed. Contact Jim Garris, Rob Welch, or Rob Held today and take your game to the next level. BSN Sports, the heart of the game.
Okay, Ryan, what's up next for us?
Well, we're going to be talking girls basketball in Northwest Ohio. It tips off November 21st with the McDonald's Holiday Tournament in Bluffton featuring Arlington versus Allen East and Corey Rawson versus Bluffton. Before giving your preview of the 2024-25 season, would you guys please recap some of the great moments in girls hoops in Northwest Ohio?
Well, I think a good place to start is, here we are. We're going to really focus on the local leagues, and our local leagues have done really well throughout the years when it comes to participation in the Final Four and having just outstanding seasons. So what I did a little research. So both of you guys, I want to have a few trivia questions for you, and maybe our listeners, if they want to try to guess along and see if they can stump you two, we'll see how successful they are. But let's go with this. What year was the first women's or the girls' state championships played?
Early 70s. They didn't play it when I was in high school, so after that, 73.
I was going to guess 73.
74.
Guys, a little bit early. 76 was the first year.
Okay.
3 divisions, obviously. Which school in Northwest Ohio and in our 3-league area, Northwest Ohio here, was the first team to take a team to the state tournament?
I got a good guess on that. It's got to be our good old buddy Dan English's Fairview Apaches.
That's a good guess, but not right.
Why not?
Let's see.
He was the second one then.
Patrick Henry?
Nope. It was Henry County next door. It was Dwayne Sheets and his Holgate Tigers. They finished runner-up that year, the first year down there.
Nice group. Boy, he had some players.
And then in the 80s, Antwerp was second. They went in 1980. 81, Edgerton went. Shar Sharp took her 82 team to state.
Yep.
And 86, Antwerp back again. And we're talking Mark Hartman was the coach there. How about the year, what year was 4 divisions then introduced, going from 3 to 4?
80s sometime.
88.
88 was right on. Very good. And then in 89, our first champion from the area.
How about Dan English's
There
Fairview
you go.
Apaches?
There he
Ring,
is.
ring the bell, ring the bell. And the thing about it was undefeated Fairview Lady Apaches, 28-0. Yep, so it's been a really good run. What's the most recent team from Northwest Ohio to head to Dayton in this case?
Bryan Golden Bears.
Well, they went, but it'd be most recent,
Yeah.
and they've been there. They've been really good. Of course, a couple of years ago we had a champion,
Yep.
and that was the Lady Wildcats.
And so we
Corey
mentioned
Keinberg.
2 of the champions. We've had 3. Who finishes the trio of champions?
Wasion, Brad Myers.
Oh, yeah.
1997, and it's just like the Fairview team, 27-0.
Wow.
Yeah, that
So
was a good
You
group.
talk about some impressive teams. You know, you're going back and you could spend shows on each of those teams.
Well, what's interesting about that Wasion team with Brad Myers, he played for you at striker, and of course the same year, 97 on the boys' side, you last one. So
we had,
gold rings to both of you.
We did. It was 1 week later. We went down and did the same thing. So Brad and I, we've talked about that and shared that moment together.
Hey, real quick, while we brought up Shar Sharp there just a moment. I've got a student currently in my communications class. I'll put in a plug for this, that on YouTube is going to be airing a special feature, a sports feature on Shar Sharp, and she's putting that together. Alana Pedraza has been doing a lot of work on that project, and that will be
good for
released to YouTube and in the Archbold Communications channel pretty soon. So
Well,
look for that.
I can just quickly picture how that intro starts. Here's Shar Sharp on her tractor. You know, thinking about all her sports accomplishments.
All right, our next segment, 96.1 WMTR, is right in the heart of 3 small school basketball conferences, the Buckeye Border Conference, Green Meadows, and Northwest Ohio Athletic League. Guys, preview the ladies' hoops in the 8-team BBC this season to start with.
And we certainly will. And if we look at the Buckeye Border Conference, it's a really good small school conference. Last year, the girls' champion was a co-champs between Montpelier and Pettersville. And both teams are going to come back pretty solid again this year. But let's start with the Eden Lady Bombers, head coach Kayla Walker. Kayla is in her 9th year starting her 9th year at Eden. Last year's team finished 7-16 throughout the season. As you look back at this season, as you look toward this season, they have 4 letter winners, all underclassmen. In fact, they have the Ripke sisters, Jenna Ripke, a 5'7" junior, and her sister Grace, 5'8" junior, both about 4 points a game last year, and they're been around for a couple of years now. But they also have a 5'9" junior, Addison Briner, who scored 12 points a game for them, and she was second team district and BBC as well. Nevaeh Smith is another 5'9" sophomore who had a nice season at 7 points a game as a freshman. So there's our 4 letter winners. And as Coach Walker looks at their season, she's really excited with the leadership she's getting from her letter winners and their experience that they're going to bring towards the team. And as she looks at the league, she says the league is going to be solid. There's just up and down the league. She didn't mention anybody in particular, but she feels it's going to be real solid. Let's go on to Fayette, Dave.
Yeah, Fayette will be coached by a first-year head coach this year, Travis Arkwright. Travis has been on the basketball scene in Northwest Ohio. He's been a long-time assistant for the last 4 or 5 years at Edgerton and doing a fine job at there. But now he gets the opportunity to lead his own program, and talking with him, he's really excited about the opportunity, and he knows he's got a challenge. Last year's team was 4-19, so he's got a building job to do, but he's got some good letter winners back to help him get that accomplished. He's got like 6 kids that are returning, and the key about them, they're all our 2-year letter winners, so they've seen a lot of basketball time. So that bodes well for on-court experience. A couple seniors. Zoe Brown is a 5'11" senior. Erica Fetterman is a 5'6" senior. Getting some juniors then, we got Addie Snag, a 5'6" junior, as I mentioned. Kelsey Storrs, a 5'5" guard, averaged about 5 points a game last year. Willow Mitchell is a 5'3" junior. And the 6-letter winner is Mesha Gorsh. She's a 5'5" junior. Lastly, there's a freshman who's going to see some time, and that's Kennedy Kunkel. So there's a nice group of 7 seven athletes that, Coach Arkwright has to deal with. He's excited the fact that he thinks this group is very versatile. He thinks they're kind of they have positionless players. Everybody can play every position, which is kind of the new trend in basketball anyway.
There's no numbers anymore.
Right. I'm not a 1-2-5. I'm a player, and I think he likes the versatility that this team offers him. He feels that they have a really good overall quickness. They don't have a lot of size, so he hopes that quickness can overcome the deficit of the size. But kind of like the Eden coach didn't really talk about expectations, who's going to win the league. He thinks it's going to be really competitive. He just wants his expectations for his team are simple. He just wants to make sure they keep learning, keep getting better every night. And, by doing that, they'll put themselves in position to compete for a championship at some point.
Let's move ahead to the Hilltop Lady Cadets. Eighth-year head coach Troy Grimm is back, and they came off last year with a very solid 14-9. But what's really interesting about that, they have 7 letter winners off that 14-win team, and that's 2 seniors, a couple juniors, and 3 sophomores. So they have a great nucleus as they head into 24-25 season. Led by a 3-year letter winner, who's not only a pretty good player, Libby Baker, 6'2" senior. She's only the BBC Player of the Year last year, also first-team All-District player as well, 18 points a game, 9 rebounds. That's a pretty good start right there. You also look at another senior, Elena Van Zarndalen, 5'4" guard, a couple points a game, good leader out there for him as well. You look at 2 juniors, Molly Dickinson, a 5'5" guard, 4 points a game last year, and Kenley Rout, a 5'5" guard, will add as a good steady play for them as well. 3 sophomores that lettered for them, Kennedy Bailey, a 5'9" guard, a couple points a game, Kelsey Conley, 5'8", forward, 3 points a game, and Sophia Crossgrove, a 5'7" sophomore, at 3 points a game and 4 rebounds as a freshman. That's pretty good contributions. As Troy looks at his squad this year, just kind of what Dave said with Fayette, he likes his positions, all positions, great depth with this team. He's really impressed at how hard the young ladies have been working at both ends of the court. We asked about some possible weaknesses, and he said, well, we got to improve taking the care of the ball, and we got to improve our rebounding. And you know what? He's probably like every other coach in the area when he says that. That's a standard thing early in the season for sure. As he looks at the league, he's saying, well, Montpelier and Pettiesville were last year's co-champs. They both returned great nucleuses of players, and he looks for them to get right back at it again. He says, you know what? We're looking to be right there, trying to get up there ourselves. So he's looking forward to the season.
Well, let's jump to Henry County and kind of tune into the Holgate Tigers, the Lady Tigers in this case. Again, another first-year coach taking the realms in Holgate, and that's Mitch Fisher. Mitch is a Holgate grad coming back home to his alma mater to lead the lady program. Mitch has been, in the last 4 or 5 years, an assistant down the road at Patrick Henry with the boys program, so certainly been involved in basketball recently as a coach, but also as a player. He played for, everybody's favorite coach, Paul Wayne. And
Wayno.
And here's the key about Mitch. What kind of style will they play? He didn't give us a lot of details. He said he's got 6 lettermen, and they're going to rely on those 6 lettermen. Last year, their team was 7-17 overall. Lost a couple of starters off that group. They returned the 6 lettermen, and he's going to rely heavily because a main issue is which faces a lot of schools, just a lack of numbers. So their depth will be challenged. If they get injuries, that's going to be an issue. Foul trouble. So, it's really going to be have to execute and everybody have to pull their weight, so to speak. But, he's counting on the experience of those 6 kids. As I said, I guess the key thing would be we know he's a disciple of Paul Wayne's mentality. What kind of style will they play? It's to be determined. I just got to wonder what's the over-under when it comes to how many foot stomps he'll do a la Paul Wayne. So we'll see how that works out if he's ever learned that trait. But, Fisher and the Lady Tigers, they'll open up their season, his coaching career at Kalida on Friday, and I mentioned that specifically because it's a varsity-only contest, and again, it kind of dictates the fact that their numbers are lacking. So the Holgate Tigers under first-year coach Mitch Fisher.
Let's move along to the Pettisville Lady Blackbirds. And, you talk about guys in the area that have been here a while. Jason Wildvogel is back for his 29th year. He is definitely the old-timer of the group, and I mean that in a nice way. He's a veteran for sure, and his last year's record, they were 6-1, as we said, co-champs in the league, 14-9 overall were the Blackbirds. He lost 3 letter winners, but he has 7 letter winners returning. So, again, a great nucleus, including 5 seniors. The 5 seniors include Olivia Miller, who had about 14 points a game last year, Kelsey Bennett, who had a couple points a game, Madison Remington, a couple points as well, Noelle Fox, a senior, and then Grace Remington rounds out the 5 senior letter winners. They have a couple of juniors returning back, and one is Becca Strauss, 5.5 points a game. I don't know how you get half a point a game, but it's 5 points a game. And then also Grace Hastings would be the other returner. He's looking forward to a couple sophomore newcomers contributing, Ashlyn Rice and Sophie Belts, to the success of this year's Bird squad. He likes his numbers for this as a strength. He thinks he has good numbers, and he also thinks that provides good depth. He likes his experience, and why wouldn't you with 7 letter winners? Really good. He thinks they'll be a very balanced squad. And again, once we just talked about, he thinks all those girls can play all over the floor, as we had mentioned a little bit ago. How about this one for a weakness? Rebounding. That's something new. All right. He says we just got to keep working on that, and we got to make sure we find ourselves being comfortable on the floor with the different lineups that we're going to provide. He's looking to be competitive each night, and he says the league is going to be solid throughout. So he didn't name himself, but other teams are. Let's go on, Dave.
Okay, let's jump up to the Williams County up in the Northwest and talk about the North Central Lady Eagles. Back for his second season is Jamie Brown. Jamie's team last year in his first season struggled through a tough 1-21 season, but what you do out of those 1-21 seasons is that you build a lot of things positive for the future, and I think that's really what he's aiming to do with this program. They returned 3 returners, 3 Letterman winners. Maddie Zimmerman, who was a All-League honorable mention BBC last year, along with Amara Wright and Mallory Groves. Those are the returners. Other players that he wants to make offering contributions would be Emmy Holstein, Kenzie Hickman, and Amelia Lawson. So, those are the main 6 people that he sees as being instrumental in leading them to success and then competitiveness. He like other coaches that talks about rebounding as a weakness. He does like his overall numbers, so obviously they have some depth. But his main goal is to just basically every day work on making sure we improve daily to strive to their goals. Moving forward to
staying in Williams County, the Montpelier Lady Locos, and the Lady Locos have like we said before, they are the other returning champion in the BBC with the Blackbirds, and they've come back with head coach Mike Bum, who is starting his 7th year at the helm there. 17-7 overall last year, a fine season, and they're looking forward to keep on going at it again this year. As you look at their personnel, they have 6 letter winners off that squad, so once again, some really good depth there. They have 5 seniors back. Kelsey Bum had a great year as a junior. She's 5'3". She was first team All-District, first team in the league, of course, but she's also special mention All-Ohio, which just speaks well for her talents as well. So you have another senior, 5'8", senior Jada Urabies, and she's been a letter winner for 3 years, as well as Kelsey Bum. but she was second team All-District and first team in the league. Aaliyah Hilliard is a 5'2" senior, led her a couple times for the Locos. Madeline Hopper, 5'7" senior. And then Lila Mahan is a 5'3" senior back for her senior season. Zoe Uribe is a junior letter winner, 5'7", and she will obviously provide some nice depth and some size in there as well. They have one newcomer that he's really mentioned here, and that's Aslan McGee, and she's only a freshman. So hopefully she'll be able to get in there and make some things happen with that other part of the roster. He says one of the biggest strengths they have is that they have the bulk of their roster returning, obviously, so they have great experience. He thinks they're going to be a better offensive team this year. Don't have down how many points they averaged last year, but you know what? I always like to hear that people are going to score some points. I also like to hope they guard a little bit too, but I'm sure that'll happen. He said, they got 8 players he feels really comfortable with right now, and hopefully they'll build some more depth. He thinks Kelsey and Jada are probably the 2 of the top 3 players in their conference. That's speaking well, of his personnel, and he's real comfortable with that. He says he'll probably start 6 different players at different times in the season, and the freshman I mentioned, McGee, will be a part of that at some point. So they're looking forward to the season. He says the league's going to be really good again, and I think he thinks that the locals will be right in the hunt one more time, and why not? So that's the BBC. Dave has one more. My bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we have one more remaining Williams County school, and that's in Stryker. The Lady Panthers have a Stryker grad at the helm as well. Connor Roofer getting her 5th year as a head coach with the Lady Panthers. Last year's team was 13-12 overall, 5-2 in the BBC. Lost a tough district semifinal game. And as you look at that team, they lost their key player. Emily Falk was a first teamer, both all league and District 7. So that's a huge loss for them. But they do return some returning lettermen, all underclassmen. Audrey Clemens is a 5'9" sophomore. Abby Oberlin, a 5'4" junior. Reese Creighton is a 5'4" junior, and Grace Freilich is a 5'7" junior. She did return a second teamer last year in the league. But a couple new girls they feel to be helpful is Anna Donovan, a 5'9" freshman, and Adelie Falk, a 5'3" sophomore. Unfortunately, they've had a very key loss to begin the season, and that's Allie Roofer is out for the season due to an injury. So that's a big loss when you have a lack of depth anyway, and lose one of your top players from last year. But Coach Roofer really likes this group. They think they're a hard knit group, working hard together. Certainly sees the BBC as a tight race, as all of our coaches have mentioned. It's kind of where anyone can win, and so that's going to make for some really competitive games throughout the season as you look at the BBC.
Okay, we want to thank all the coaches and athletic departments from around the Buckeye Border Conference for providing us with information on their teams and their rosters and all that up-to-date information so we could have a preview for you for the conference. And now I'm going to ask the two of you, how do you see this league shaping up in terms of the title race? Well,
obviously, it's going to be very competitive. I think I'm going to go with 2 teams from last year, Pettisville and Montpelier. With all the returners they have, I think they're going to be right in the hunt. It's a little head-to-head play. You never know what's going to happen there. I don't know who hosts who this year in their league matchup, but that'll be an interesting ball game. And then you also got to throw in the Lady Cadets at Hilltop. They only return Miss Baker, the BBC returning player of the year, at 6'2". So she'll be a force, and they probably will be right in the hunt as well.
No, I totally agree. I think just from hearing the comments and listening to the returners, I think those 3 schools probably might have the heads up on the rest.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say the other teams will show up, though, too, and that's always makes it interesting.
And now let's recognize our sponsors for Hoop Chat this hour. D&G Welding of Archbold. Call 445-5751 and ask about our mobile service. Rely on D&G Welding for all your welding needs. Innovatech Solutions of Archbold, your trusted technology partner. Call 445-8088 to learn more about their many services or visit them online at innovatechsolutions.net. That's Innovatech with a K, solutions.net. S&W Mills of Archbold, proud supporters of the Archbold Blue Streaks and all our area athletes and students. Call S&W Mills of Archbold for all of your animal bedding needs at 419-445-5203. And finally, at BSN Sports, our job is making sports easier for coaches and players. From top-notch fan gear to personalized uniforms, we've got everything your team needs to succeed. Contact Jim Garris, Rob Welch, or Rob Held today and take your game to the next level. BSN Sports, the heart of the game. All right, to the Green Meadows Conference Ladies League race. What do you expect to see in the GMC?
Well, I think first and foremost, you got to look back to last season and tip your hat to Ayersville. They had an outstanding 24-2 season, highlighted by a 7-0 defeated GMC records as league champions. So, from there, new year, just toss up the ball and see what happens. And we'll start by looking at Antwerp. They bring back really a veteran coach, well-respected. Scott McMichael returns for his 28th season on the bench. Ninth with the Lady Archers. They were 12-12 a year ago. Had a key loss with his graduation of his daughter, who was a 16-point game scorer, but he's happy and excited about their returners, headed by Carolyn Roars, who was a first-teamer last year, getting 14 points a game. She's a senior. A couple other returners that he's excited about is Briley Bagley, 5'7" sophomore, as well as Madison Peters, a 5'6" senior. He emphasizes that there's a lot of expectations for some people to contribute. They don't have a lot of game experience. They've been in the JV program. Mara Philpott, Elena Horman, Riley Franklin, Gabby Snyder, Aaliyah Friend, Clara Roars, all are people that they're counting on to give them some depth. He really likes the athleticism of this team, the quickness, multiple people he feels are very good ball handlers. Certainly lack size, but he hopes that the inexperienced players can step up into the varsity action. As far as the league, Coach McMichael sees the league as really tough as it has been year in, year out. A lot of teams return a lot of people. So, he has mentioned that there are a lot of good coaches. And so on each and every night, those guys are going to have their teams prepared for a battle. So, that's what he expects out of the GMC on the Antwerp side.
Well, let's go to Defiance County on the other end and look at Ayersville, the defending champions. 24-2, as you said, overall. What a great season. They got beaten in the district finals last year by Crestview, and they well coached, obviously, by Tim Nicely. Tim is starting his sixth year at Ayersville, and again, he's done a great job in that time span. They're coming off that great season. They lost four big players, two of first-team players in Schindler and Kraft, and they have just two returners from that squad, Kendra Waldron and Addison Zartman. Waldron is 5'6", a couple rebounds, 7-8 points a game. Zartman was nice 6'1" size, rebound or so, and a couple points as well. So they're going to bring some new people in, and there's a list of 5 or 6 people here that he's planning on getting in the mix. And one's a couple juniors, Allison Eldridge, 5'6" junior, and Alexa Grieve, 5'6" junior as well. They got some 3 sophomores, Avery Canuven, 5'8" sophomore, Hannah Allstatter, another sophomore, 5'9", and Kaylin Hestet, a 5'6" guard. And they have one freshman that he's going to get in the mix, and this you'll see here on the floor. She stands 6 foot, and that's Kendall Boer. So they got some newcomers and hey, they got tradition, so they're going to be in the mix. He likes his group. He likes their attitudes. They got to keep working to get better. Obviously, they don't have a varsity experience, a lack of it, so that's a big weakness. but he's hoping to be competitive again, and he's looking like the league's going to be real solid, but he's looking at Wayne Trace and Tenora.
Well, let's jump up to Williams County, State Route 6, the Edgerton Lady Bulldogs. Head coach Marchetta Carrier is back for her 4th season at the helm of the Lady Bulldogs. Longtime fixture as a softball coach. I think she's been there like 15 years as well. So she's pulling double duty. But last season, her basketball team went 10-13. And she's really excited about a great nucleus of kids to build around, certainly led by Aliva Franham. First team GMC returner. She averaged 16 points, 7 rebounds a game. So that's a good place to start. Followed by Ava Swank, 7 points, 5 rebounds a game. Gretchen Kepler, 4 points, 4 rebounds. And Casey Everett scored 5 points and 3 rebounds. So has a great nucleus to start their season. Certainly she loves that experience, but there are some concerns and worries. Again, as we mentioned before, lack of depth is something that she feels could hinder them. But they're looking to improve and playing their best ball come tournament time. They hope to be in contention for a GMC title, even though she doesn't mention who she pinpoints as the favorite. One interesting thing, they have the NBA schedule to start the season. They'll start Friday at Evergreen, turn around a double weekend and play right back at home versus Pettisville, and then turn around on Tuesday and have a home game versus Montpelier. So they're going to find out a lot about themselves in the first three games in the first 5 days of the season.
Yeah, in a short period of time, too. Let's go on to Fairview. The Lady Apaches head coach Russell Zedike is in his 7th, starting his 8th year at the helm there. They were 16-8 last year, which is a fine season. And they bring back 3 letter winners from that squad. A 5'6" senior, averaged 5 points and 4 rebounds, is Kayla Mavis. Another senior, 5'4", Maddie Sharp, 3 points a ball game. And then junior, 5'6", point guard, Aubrey Hammer, who had a nice solid year at 10 points a game for the Lady Apaches a year ago. They have a few newcomers they're looking at. Probably one of my favorite name teams I've seen this year so far, junior, 5'8", Patience McDaniel. Come on, how do you not like Patience McDaniel? Come on. Now you got 5'8" sophomore Chloe Panico, another sophomore, Sammy Mavis, 5'9". So there's the people they're looking at. He says right now we have some injuries and with low numbers already. So he said we went into a scrimmage with only 5 or 6 varsity players. And, boy, I've been there before. That's no fun. But he said the one thing about these young ladies, they have plenty of grit and toughness. And he said that was going to have to go out, and we'll have to go out and compete with that each and every night. How about this? This is a new thing to improve, rebounding. They got to rebound. And, again, I think that's something that's not uncommon to a lot of teams. He's looking to be in the mix. Going to go out and play hard in the league and compete. He likes Tenora, Wayne Trace, and Edgerton, and he also threw in a young team from last year, Paulding, getting some recognition. So that's what they're looking at. He says it's going to be interesting in the league this upcoming season.
Well, let's check in on the Hicksville Lady Aces. They'll be headed this year by Christine Stamen, her first year on the bench, her first year as a head coach, a Lincoln View High School grad, and she's really looking forward to the opportunity. Last season, the Aces didn't have the year that they've probably wanted. They were 3-20. But it's been a program over the years that has been very, very successful. So they have that background. I think when you have a school that has a background of success, I think it's a lot easier to regenerate that success, and that's what she's hoping as well. She's going to build around a couple of 2-year letter winners. That's Ashlyn Sturry, a 5'7" senior, and Kennedy Adams, a junior point guard. And then if you're going to build around somebody who give the ball to, a point guard is a good person to make sure you can trust out there. And I think she has that in Kennedy Adams. A few other lettermen returning is Addie Sanders, McKenna Rice. They're both juniors. A couple sophomores, McKenna Baird and Adeline Radford. So again, they got a really good, solid group of experienced players to build around. So, she sees the depth really additionally coming from a senior, Brandy Lance, and 3 freshmen, Devaney Mall, Jocelyn Baldwin, and Ari Spencer. So they really do have a nice group of promising newcomers to join the mix. She wonders about how they'll deal with size. They don't have great size on their team, so she's concerned about that struggle with versus size, that they lack that. But she really likes their high energy. They're having great effort. And I think she expects that to continue as the season progresses.
Okay, on to Paulding and the Lady Panthers under head coach Matt Arellano. Matt, I'll tell you what, he could play back in the day himself. This is his 6th season as the head coach, coming off a 10-13 campaign of last year. They lost 2 young ladies to graduation. And catch this, we just mentioned them as possibility by the other coach. They got 10 returners. 10 letter winners, 4 seniors, 2 juniors, and 4 sophomores who all played for big roles for him last year. They're returning seniors, Brooklyn Backel, Brooklyn Schlatter, Amaya Carr, and Brianna Bermeja. And then you look at the 2 juniors, Lucy Breyer and Addie Peace. You got 4 sophomores, Kaylee Dunham, Kate Mance, Esty Pease, and Tori Schlatter. A couple newcomers possibly getting in the mix. You have a couple of juniors, Michaela Carr and Addison Shaw, and then a couple of sophomores maybe trying to work their way in, Libby Breyer and Mariah Mance. Coach Arellano is looking to build on that 10-win season last year, and again, with 10 returners and some good newcomers, I think he says we got a good athletic and determined group. He says he thinks we can be a tough defensive group, and he want to lean on that defense to help generate good offense and momentum. So he thinks the league's going to be real solid this year, and he just hopes that they can continue to get better each and every day. So that's your Paulding Panthers this year.
Well, jumping back into Defiance County, let's look at Tenora. The Lady Rams, returning for his 3rd season at the helm, is Andrew Thiel. Last year they were 15-10, had a very fine season. Were district runners-up, lost in the district finals to LC in a very tight game. They return a boatload of lettermen. We're talking 10 have seen action and will return. So that is a huge benefit for Coach Theo as they look into their season. They have 4 lettermen who have played 3 years. That's Carly Oakley, a point guard, 7 points a game. Addison Lee getting 8.5 points a game. There's Julia Durfee, 4.5 a game, and Nova Oakley at 11.2 points a game. So she was a second-team GMC player last year. So they really have a nice, strong nucleus of experienced lettermen, and then those returning for their second year of varsity action, Christina Meyer, a 5'8 junior, Jaden Sines, a 5'6 junior, Ellen Blanchard, point guard senior, Tatum Krebs, a 6'2 junior, so that does give him a little bit of size. Amelia Coy as well as a 5'4 junior. So, and then one last senior junior letterman was Emma Bailey. So the 10 of them, they do have some size overall. He doesn't think it's something that they can lean on, but they do have a lot of returners. He thinks they're versatile. He thinks they have a lot of speed, team speed, and the same thing we've talked about. The rebounding is an issue, but he's got some size. Hopefully they can play to that size. The GMC, as he says, is certainly well coached, top to bottom, and he knows that they have to be prepared because they'll be facing teams that'll come bring it each and every night. So he's looking for a great season, and they hope to have impact into the GMC as the season progresses.
Well, let's cap off the GMC and go up to Wayne Trace. Head coach Bethany DeJarna is back for her 13th year with the Lady Raiders. Last year, they're coming off a 14-10 season as they look into this season. They have 6 letter winners off that 14-win team, including 3 seniors and 3 juniors. The seniors include Harper Myers, 5'9 guard, 6 points a game, 5 rebounds a game. Tiana Sin, Imagine that, a Sin at Wayne Trace. How about that? Tiana Sin, a senior, 5'6" guard, 3 points and a rebound as well. Kathleen Stoller, another good Wayne Trace name, senior guard, 1 point and a rebound as well. Look at the juniors, Karen Winans, 5'5" guard. Lexi Moore, a 6'1" forward, 12 points a game. And Carolyn Winans, a 5'5" guard, 2 rebounds, and she must have distributed the ball pretty well. They had her down for around 50 assists from last year. A couple of new girls, Amber Stoller and Caitlin Mead, sophomore and a junior, looking to maybe to get in the mix for the Lady Raiders themselves. She looks at her squad this year off that 14-win season. She likes the versatility of the girls that she has. She thinks they can change up on defense and use the different players and move the ball offensively up and down the floor. She says they've been rebounding really well, which is always a positive. And she says we got to get better making some decision making, and communication needs to improve. And you know what? I don't know too many teams that don't need to get better on communication. That's for sure. Anyway, outlook for the season. They just think that the league is one of the just a solid night in, night out. It's going to be tough. Wide open league, and she thinks every team is capable of being a winner on any given night. So you better be ready to play and better lace them up over there in the GMC this year.
In terms of the GMC race and for the hunt for the league title, what do you think for the ladies in the GMC, guys?
Well, I think I'll go with the league coaches, and they think anybody's got a chance. But you got to look at the Lady Raiders we just talked about. We got some solid people. Tenora obviously has got some solid people back as well. Edgerton and Paulding got some good. How about Paulding with 10 returners? Come on. You can't go wrong there.
And same thing with Tenora. I mean, when you have varsity experience coming back to that magnitude, that can only bode well.
And now let's recognize our sponsors for Hoop Chat this hour. D&G Welding of Archbold. Call 445-5751 and ask about our mobile service. Rely on D&G Welding for all your welding needs. Innovatech Solutions of Archbold, your trusted technology partner. Call 445-8088 to learn more about their many services or visit them online at innovatechsolutions.net. That's Innovatech with a K, solutions.net. S&W Mills of Archbold, proud supporters of the Archbold Blue Streaks and all our area athletes and students. Call S&W Mills of Archbold for all of your animal bedding needs at 419-445-5203. And finally, at BSN Sports, our job is making sports easier for coaches and players. From top-notch fan gear to personalized uniforms, we've got everything your team needs to succeed. Contact Jim Garris, Rob Welch, or Rob Held today and take your game to the next level. BSN Sports, the heart of the game. And finally, what are your NWL thoughts and expectations for girls hoops this season, gentlemen?
Well, let's start with the local team, the Archbold Lady Blue Streaks. Head coach Brian Ziegler, 26 years in, so he's starting year 27. He's been around the block himself, so coming off a 10-13 season. Interesting thing about Coach Ziegler, he's got a couple of wily veterans on his staff this year. We already mentioned Shar Sharp, who's been there, and she's been there for a long time. But he brought in a guy who's been around the block himself. That's Billy Hugg coming in and helping out. So Billy's excited, and so is Coach Ziegler to have these veteran coaches with him. But anyway, they return off from that 10-win season, 6 letter winners. They has 2 seniors, Alana Pedraza, who's a point guard. She's a little quick girl, 6'5", points a game last year. Grace Meyer came in, had some really solid games for him off the bench last year at 5 points a game. They started Charlie Forward, who's aggressive, very aggressive junior, about 10 points a game from Charlie last year. And another junior who had a really solid year last year is Miley Gerke, about 8 points a game. And she's very athletic, and I think she'll have a good season for the Streaks. Addie Kinsman. Now, you talk about a spark plug. This little young lady she's a go-getter, and she will definitely make things happen. But she's not much of a scorer, about 1 point a game, but she'll be out. You'll know her presence. junior McKenna Thiel, who is injured last year, didn't get to play at all. Had a bad shoulder, if I remember correctly. But she's back out this year, and she played as a freshman and played pretty well. And they'll be like to have her back on the floor again this year. Coach Ziegler says his defense has been good, so we'll see how that opens up when they open up with Wasion next week. But he says we got to rebound. He says we got to get better rebounding the basketball. As looking at the league, he says PH and Wasion are the early favorites for this year.
Well, let's jump into Brian. Let's go to Williams County, and then if there's a school that has had a great run here recently, it's Todd Grosjean's Lady Bears. Man, they've had a couple back-to-back seasons that anybody would want, and he's on his 25th year, so he's a long-time coach.
He's done a great job, unbelievable. Yep.
And basically he's earned the right to be just a Coach G. We don't have to say Grosjean anymore. He's a Coach G. So, so basically
I can spell G too.
Yeah, exactly. However, from that 20, they were in the Final Four in 23. They were backed that up last season with a 26-2 record, lost in the regional final. But boom, there's a key asterisk there. They graduated 6 seniors, and that 5 of them were starters. So it's going to be a little bit different, but I think the thing which he's really happy about, they still have got really good 4 letter returners, and they're led by one senior, Mackenzie Mason, who's earned a letter. But then they have 3 2-year lettermans, Josie Arnold, a 5'7" junior, Ava Zimmerman, a guard at 5 foot, and then Gabby Mossberg. And then a couple other girls he expects contributions from: Pepper Hanna, Mia Langham, Miley Vollmer, Kelsey Thiel, and Avery Ann Fisher. So, and she's a freshman. So they've got a lot of people. One of the things you can always count on when teams have had success, they're there every day. They've seen what these other girls have done, and they've seen how the work they put in. So, even though he doesn't have the experience that he probably would prefer to have, he's got some kids who've been in the hunt and practiced with these girls, and so I think that even though they have lack of experience, that's a benefit of that success. What's interesting is that you talk about a road trip to start your season. They're going to venture down to on Friday night. They're going to head down to Mansfield and take on the Mansfield Senior Lady Tigers. So that's an interesting road trip to start the season. Just throwing yourself right into the fire.
Well, good for them. They'll be fun to watch, no doubt. Let's go to Delta. The Lady Panthers head coach Kelsey Gillen, is back for her 5th year, and Kelsey's team's coming off a 13-11 season last year. As you look at this year, they welcome back 6 letter winners. They have just one senior, though, Kendall Sproul, who had a really solid year for him last year, 5'7", and she is the only returning starter as well. So now they bring in other letter winners: Abby Todd, a junior, 5'5", 4 points a game. Keegan Gillen, 5'9" junior, had a couple points a game for him last year. They also have another junior, Ellie Martinez, who was a 5'5" last year, got some time off the bench. Addison Wise is a sophomore, 5'11", gives him a little height inside. And also Mackenzie Kruger, 5'5", junior. I didn't mention her as a junior, but she will be there as well. Looking forward to maybe a couple other players contributing. One's a senior, Natalie Freese, who's coming off an ACL injury, so she's coming back, and hopefully she can have a safe and healthy year for her, the Panthers. And then also a freshman, point guard, Anna Lohman. So we'll see how she responds to varsity action as well. Her scrimmages, they like their athleticism that they've shown, the quickness. She thinks she's got a fairly smart basketball IQ team, and she loves the team's cohesiveness, and which I always think is improvement too. And they think she thinks that can even get better as the season goes on. She says the program continues to build positive momentum, and that's so true. They've been real solid throughout the last few years, and the coaching staff's hoping that they're going to continue the improvement. They says the league favorite, Patrick Henry Patriots.
Well, let's Move into Fulton County again, and we'll stay with the Evergreen Lady Vikings. Brittany Simbolin back for her 13th season. Last year, the Lady Vikings went 12-12. This season, they're going to be led by 2 returning letter winners. Addison Ricker, a 5'8" senior, second-team All-District player last year, getting 10 points, 6 rebounds a game. And Kennedy Emmett, a 5'4" senior point guard. So Coach Simbolin talks about these two as just being really great leaders, have been leading their group and really has been essential and assets to the team to date. Other people making contributions from her eyeballs. She thinks Lonnie Mance, Bailey Lumbreezer, Kyla Risner, Ella Burgermeister, and Ava Vakulik. All are kids who she expects to offer contributions. She feels that they're really talented in terms of newcomers. Certainly lack that varsity experience, but you only get it one way. You got to throw them out there and get after it. She loves their team's work ethic. She feels they'll have a great balance scoring. Certainly been working on rebounding and defense as they have progressing through the preseason. Sees the league being balanced, but she does see PH as the team to beat. And on Friday night, they open the season at Edgerton.
Let's move back to Henry County. The Liberty Center Lady Tigers talk about a team with a real great year last year. Tim Davis in his 11th year had a team had 23-3, and they got beaten in the regional semifinals, the Sweet 16. And that was what a great team they had. But the interesting thing about it, they have 0 letter winners. They lost every one of their people. They had some really good players: Emmy Gray, Kaylee Blanton, Bria Brer, Liza Jones, Moeller girl, Ellie Moeller, Gracie Miller, Molly Perry, Emerson Gherkin, and Nicole Keller. So those are some good players that they have. But you know what? Like Dave said, you said before, like Brian, they've been around these newcomers. They've been around the program, and they have an idea, and they have some very promising newcomers. They have 4 seniors: Addie Zintek, Macy Crew, Maddie Bailey, Peyton Hageman. And then they have 3 juniors: Aletha Fosnot, Gabby Conrad, Brooklyn Miller. And then you throw in 3 more sophomores: Chloe Moeller, Hope Atkinson, and Mackenzie Fuller. And that's going to be your Liberty Center Tiger. But I guarantee you they'll come out at you, and they're going to compete each and every night out. And that's what he says. Our strengths are post play, and defensively we should be very solid. He looks for the league to be very competitive as always, and he says a lot of teams with a lot of girls back from last year.
Well, let's move south of the river in Henry County. The Patrick Henry Lady Patriots. Justin Sonnenberg returns for his 6th season, and with that, they were 16-8 a year ago, 5-2 in the league. Justin's a PH grad, University of Findlay football player. He's got a little football background, so it's interesting that he's transitioned to basketball and done a really good job with the program. But last year they lost some key seniors, 6 seniors from that team. A lot of 3-4-year lettermen, so that's a lot of varsity experience to make up. But fortunately for the Patriots, the cupboard's not bare. They return 1 senior. And that is a key person because I think she is really a very solid player and just an outstanding leader, and that's a senior point guard, Casey Nelson. If you're going to have a 3-year letterman, give her the ball and let her make her decisions for you. That's a coach on the court. Other lettermen returning would be 3 juniors who've played a lot of basketball since their freshman year. That's Karis Crossan, a 5'10 junior. She was a first-teamer All-League last year, as well as a first-team All-District. And then a second junior, Ada Christman, 6'2 junior. Again, a first-team All-League, a second-team All-District. They both received honor mentions All-State. So, that junior, those 2 juniors really have done a lot of basketball and played a lot of basketball. Crispin, by the way, just committed to University of Findlay for basketball recently, so that's really a neat thing. And the final junior is Sophie Gildy, a 5'5" junior, really an excellent long-range shooter for the Patriots. He sees Lanny Rosebrook and Kelsey Schreiber, both juniors, both with some size off the bench, and helping their depth as well. So he has good overall size, obviously. So he sees rebounding and defense as a strength. Lacks depth, but hopefully they can keep developing that, and also, develop some scoring, develop balanced scoring. He knows the league. We talked about Liberty and Bryan losing so much to graduation. So teams have graduated that. So he kind of feels the league's up for grabs. But he hopes they're competing for one of the spots. And just a note, PH's football team is playing Friday night, so their game with Defiance is moved to later in the season. So they'll open their season up at home on Tuesday in the House of Heat versus Miller City.
There you go. Let's go back to Fulton County with Swanton, the Lady Bulldogs, under second-year head coach Jared Walker, coming off a 9-win season last year, 9-14. Have 5 letter winners, two seniors, Miranda Yeager and Jessica Finfara. They have 3 juniors, Carly LaGrange, Lauren Bettinger, and another sophomore, Madeline Stevenson. So they had 2 juniors and 1 sophomore. And then they have another young lady who he's looking at, another Yeager, sophomore Lexi Yeager, who he thinks will definitely get some playing time as well. So not a lot of depth there. He says we can't get anybody hurt, and he said we need to do our best getting kids keeping them fresh the best we can. Depth will be a huge issue. He likes a move he's made, a coaching move, a switch to a different offense. So hopefully that'll be good for his young ladies as well. And looking at the league, he said flatly out Patrick Henry. That's all he said.
And let's stay in Fulton County, and we'll finish up the NWOL with the Wauseon Lady Indians. Shelley Borton back for her second year at the helm. Last season, the Lady Indians went 13-11. But as she's looking forward to this season, because they'll return 8 letter winners, led by seniors Mackenzie Stassa and Johanna Tester. Some juniors that will see some action and make great contributions: Sophia Rupp, Aslan Coronado, Anna Lee Reyes, Ella Toole, and Tegan Hamilton. Tegan's coming off an injury from an ACL, so we hope that she can, be healthy and contribute. Coach Borton feels that they've had a really strong preseason and truly are looking to make strides in their defense, as well as limiting their opponents to 1 possession. So that's that proverbial rebounding position and need that we all want. She sees Bryan and Liberty as being the top dogs recently, but they lost a lot of people to graduation. But she knows they're extremely well coached and got programs going. But she sees PH returning many contributors as well. But she sees the league being very well balanced and hopes the Indians are right there at the end, hoping to fight for the title. But they'll be on the road this Friday at Bowsher, home versus Bowsher to start the season.
Okay, gentlemen, a lot of coaches suggested that Patrick Henry would be the front runner for the NWAL. Do you guys agree?
I concur.
And I as well, as long as they can maintain their health and because their depth will be an issue.
But I will also predict the other teams will show up.
A lot of area schools pick up action on Friday night. Bryan, Fairview, Holgate, Tenora. Hilltop is at Antwerp. Ayersville's at Montpelier. Edgerton's at Evergreen. Swanton plays. Wauseon opens play. Eden is at Montpelier. Pettisville's at Stryker. And Napoleon begins their tip-off in their girls' hoop for the season in 2024-2025. Guys, final thoughts on this broadcast episode.
Yeah, as we wind down here, I'd just like to give a shout-out to Aaron Gross over at Defiance Crescent. He was helpful in getting some of these fact sheets to us, and that was really nice of him to help us out. It's been a fun time. The hoop chat is something that we're going to, hopefully have a lot of fun with this year, and hopefully you as listeners will really appreciate it. And so this is Doug Krause saying I'm done for the day. Davey, what do you got?
I just want to thank our sponsors. Without them, we wouldn't be able to get this going. So we appreciate their generosity.
And I'm producer Ryan Throne. We'll see you next time.